While it might not last through all of 2025 due to the arrival of Mega Pokemon in September or November, the big new mechanic in the TCG this year is Trainers Pokemon. With the release of Journey Together on March 27th in Pokemon TCG Live, we're getting cards for 4 trainers, Hop, and Lillie and Iono. As you'd expect, all of them are playable in some capacity and will be featured heavily throughout this video. And of course, that's where we start with a trainer who only gets like 5 cards but will change the game forever. Lillie's Clefairy EX is not only the best new card in Journey Together, it's also the best new deck, sort of. Because Raging Bolt EX and Dragapult EX are the top 2 decks post-rotation for a variety of reasons, it makes sense that the deck that counters them is amazing. As a reminder, simply having Clefairy in play gives your opponent's Dragon Pokemon a Psychic weakness. You don't even have to attack with Clefairy, any Psychic Pokemon you have deals 2 times the damage to Dragons. But if you want to use Clefairy, it does 20 base damage plus 20 more for each bench Pokemon on both sides of the field, just like Raikou V and Hentai V. For the mathematically challenged among you, this means there only has to be 5 total bench Pokemon in play to one-shot Raging Bolt, and just 7 for Dragapult. Since both of those decks tend to bench a few Pokemon to, play the game, one-shotting them is almost guaranteed. Something that takes Lillie's Clefairy to the next level is Lillie's Pearl. Attach the Pearl, now Clefairy gives up 1 less prize card when it's knocked out by damage from an attack. Now, a Dragapult player can Dust Noir a bench Clefairy, then ping it with Dragapult counters to take the full 2 prizes, but most of the time it'll only give up 1 prize. For the sake of this video, here's what pure Lillie's Clefairy EX decks will look like. First up, a Noctowl build. Teal Mask Ogerpon EX, who you'll be seeing a lot more of very soon, accelerates a Grass Energy from hand to itself. All you have to do to attack with Clefairy is Energy Switch that Grass Energy, manually attach a Psychic, and you're good to go. It's basically Regidrago V-Star Reborn. Thanks to Area 0, with 8 bench Pokemon on your side of the field plus 5 on theirs, Clefairy is dealing 280 damage before weakness, meaning it's useful in matchups against non-Dragon type Pokemon as well. Removing Noctowl from the mix hurts your consistency, but it allows you to run Volcanion EX. By putting Volcanion in the active, you burn your opponent's active, adding 20 damage during checkup. Retreat it for free due to Latias EX's ability, and do the same energy switch strategy as before. If you find yourself running out of energy switches though, add in Counter Gain or Crispin. And what if you have an irrational hatred for Teal Mask Ogerpon, one of the strongest support Pokemon ever printed? That's where Xatu comes in. Instead of being able to do useless things like attacking on turn 1, this version takes a turn to set up, then accelerates energy into play with Xatu's ability. It's less explosive, but also less prone to stalling out towards the end of a game. Plus, you can more easily use alternate attackers like Mew, Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon, and Ursaluna EX. If it felt like my heart wasn't in those lists, that's because it wasn't. Just like when I tell the judge that I'll totally pay my ex-wife alimony while simultaneously winking at him, I only covered those decks because I was obligated to. The true Lillie's Clefairy EX deck and the best new deck in Journey Together only plays 1 copy of the best new trainers Pokemon. Once players in Japan realized that Raging Bolt and Dragapult were going to dominate the meta and there wasn't really anything anyone could do about it, they shifted and created this, a Lillie's Clefairy Terra Box deck. It represented 3 of the top 16 lists in Japan's 5,000 player Journey Together tournament and has won countless smaller tournaments as well. While you'll still find Teal Mask Ogerpon, Energy Switch, and Lillie's Clefairy in the deck, there's a whole lot more going on. Here's what a typical post-rotation Terra Box deck will look like. From what I could find, the only decisions you have to make are which Hooters you want to go to. Some people are including 1 copy of the 80 hit point Hoothoot, and if you want 2 or 3 Energy Switch. Fulfilling that, the strategy here is unlike anything you've ever experienced. For this to work, you have to attach energy to your Pokemon and attack. Yes, I know how dumb that sounds, but it's true. There's a 4/4 line of Noctowl, so you can grab Crispin and whatever other trainer you may need each turn, like Energy Switch, Area 0, Sparkling Crystal, or Nest Ball. Then attach to whichever attacker is the best in that situation and you're good to go. It's going to be a deck that takes a lot of games to become familiar with, but once you are, the wins will come pouring in like a golden leaf shower. Let's look at those attackers. Of course, there's Clefairy to deal with Raging Bolt and Dragapult. Fan Rotom is mostly there to get Noctowl out of the deck, but it can deal with Mimikyu and low HP basics, giving up just 1 prize in the process. Ursaluna EX is great, dealing 240 damage for next to no energy towards the end of the game. And Mew EX can copy any attack of your opponent's active while also hitting dragons for weakness if Clefairy is in play. Then there's the Terras. Because Manaphy rotates on Journey Together launch day, Wellspring Masked Ogerpon becomes a great bench sniper. Torrential Pump allows you to do 100 to their active plus 120 to a bench Pokemon while shuffling the attached energy back in to reuse later with Crispin. That's great for dealing with lower HP basics in stage 1s. Teal Masked Ogerpon can one-shot Charizard EX through weakness. Terrapados can do 240 damage for 2 energy with a full bench early, and Pikachu EX smacks everybody for 300. If you're worried about the attack cost for Pikachu or any of the other Terras, don't be. Slap a Sparkling Crystal on it, now it needs just 2 to attack. And thanks to its ability, Pikachu might survive, allowing you to attack again the following turn. Oh, and make sure to wear your raincoat because every Terra box deck runs the Ditto from 151, so you'll have people splupping all over you. Well, they'll actually be using its ability to grab any basic from the deck on turn 1, but saying the word splup is too much fun to pass up. The other potential Clefairy Terra box uses Terrapados only. With 2 Bouffalante in play, Terrapados takes 60 less damage from attacks while also hitting for up to 240. It's not as flashy as the full Terra box deck, but it allows you to dip a toe into the archetype before getting all wet with the full build. The most straightforward of all the trainers is N, and I'm not talking about when you get his PP up. Whereas the others can all be paired up in different ways, N is a lone wolf who only plays with himself. As I've talked about before, while he has access to quite a few Pokemon, there's really only 3 you need to pay attention to: Zoroark EX, Darmanitan, and Reshiram. Zoroark is the main attacker, with Night Joker allowing you to copy the attack of any benched Ends Pokemon. Darmanitan allows you to deal 90 damage to their active plus 90 damage to a bench Pokemon, though you do have to discard all attached energy. This is perfect for KOing 2 Dracloaked in one turn, making Zoroark one of the few decks who can punish Dragapult for not using Rare Candy. And while Backdraft isn't useful in a lot of matchups, as soon as Cerulean GX gets to 10 energy in the discard pile, you're one-shotting it. Otherwise, there's Reshiram. A flat 170 is always good to have as an option, especially since it doesn't discard energy. But Powerful Rage is there as a potential one-hit KO move. If Zoroark takes 170 or more damage, you're able to one-shot everything meaningful in Standard. Now, after doing a little bit of testing with Zoroark on TCGmasters.net, a great simulator that has more features than TCG Live, I've learned a few things. 1, you'll copy Darumaka's Flare more than you'd hope. 2, Darumaka having 80 hit points, putting it out of Poffin range is horrible. And 3, what Zoroark lacks in early game power, it makes up for in the late game, assuming you manage your energy correctly. Zoroark EX's ability is the exact same as Zoroark GX's, allowing you to discard a card from hand to draw 2. This is great because you're going to need to be able to get your Gust cards every turn to pick targets. It's also a way to get energy in the discard pile, allowing you to use End's PP up, which accelerates an energy from the discard pile to one of your benched End's Pokemon. Every successful Japanese list only gets End's PP up 3 times, but remember, TCG Live doesn't exist in Japan, so they don't know the pain of always prizing the cards you need. I suggest 4, but then you have to cut something like a copy of End's Castle, which gives all of his Pokemon free retreat. Here's a typical End Zoroark EX list. There's a full 4/4 line of Zoroark, a 3/2 Darmanitan since it'll mostly sit on your bench and look pretty except when you need to reversal energy it, and just 1 End's Reshiram. Heavy Ball is rotating, and again, Live hates you, so don't be afraid to up it to 2 copies. Otherwise, what you see here is a good B-tier deck that does really well against things not named Raging Bolt EX, since Raging Bolt one-shots Zoroark for just 4 energy. If you're looking to add any other cards, Hops Cramorant and Blood Moon Ursaluna are great, cheap backup attackers. Pokemon League HQ could be a way to slow down Raging Bolt, but they'll always find a way. And you could swap out Unfair Stamp as your A-Spec for Maximum Belt to take easier one-shots with Zoroark, or Hyper Aroma for added consistency. Depending on which version you're playing, Hop Zacian EX is either a slightly better or slightly worse deck than End Zoroark EX. While the backbone, or I guess bark bone, of this archetype is Zacian EX, it can't do it alone. It requires a full pack. For a single colorless energy, Insta-Strike does 30 damage to their active plus 30 more to a bench Pokemon. Badoo has 30 hit points, so that can be a free prize card at times if you use something like Iron Bundle. Then there's Brave Slash for 3 metal and a colorless, which does 240. Not bad, but what if you could deal 90 more damage with each attack for 1 less energy? With Hop Snorlax, Postwick, and Hop's Choice Band in play, you can do just that. Hop Snorlax is a bench sitter that boosts the damage of all of your Hops Pokemon by 30, except it doesn't stack. Postwick does the same thing to Snorlax, but as a stadium. And Hop's Choice Band also adds 30 damage with the added benefit of reducing the attack cost by 1 colorless energy. So Zacian's Brave Slash goes from 240 to 330 damage, one-shotting Dragapult EX and Charizard EX. If you're worried about relying on a 2-prizer every turn, that's where Hawktua Jr. comes in with its Fickle Spitting attack. For a single colorless energy, which can be reduced to 0 with Choice Band, Hop's Cramorant does 120 damage when they have 3 or 4 prizes remaining. Get all the buffs into play, that's 210 for free. So the entire Hops archetype can deal a lot of damage, it's just lacking good energy acceleration, which is where the Archaludon EX build comes in. When you evolve into Archaludon EX, you can accelerate 2 Metal Energy to your Metal Pokemon however you want, including Zacian EX. This is the strongest list for Hop Zacian EX, complete with a 2-2 line of Archaludon EX, which you use to launch Brave Slash once or twice per game, taking those big KOs. The only choice you have to make is how hard you go on Monkey Dory. I went with 5 Metal and 2 Darkness, but other Japanese lists have opted for just 4 Metal and 3 Darkness. Regardless, all you want to do is insta-strike early with Zacian, get some damage into play, then either take a big KO with a Zacian after accelerating energy to it, or buy yourself some time with Cramorant. Like Zoroark, it's a B tier deck, except Hop has more raw power. An issue that could arise is pricing. That previous list only had a 2-2 line of Archaludon and 2 Zacian, albeit with 3 Night Stretcher. This time around, you quit monkeying around and go with a 3-3 Archaludon plus 3 Zacian. It has less versatility, but is more consistent in powering up its attackers. Because my brain is smooth, this is the list that appeals to me more. It's also a great way to learn how to play Zacian EX optimally before moving into the more thought-intensive Monkey Dory build. But what if you just want to play a Hop deck with nobody else? Well, here you go. Because Zacian can do 120 damage for free while sniping 30, and Cramorant can get it up to 210 for free, you can try to use math to win the game. There's de-evolution here for evolution decks, Monkey Dory and Calamitous Snowy Mountain to guarantee damage counters being sent to your opponent's side of the field, and Blood Moon Ursa Luna as your finisher. Since there's no metal energy, you will absolutely struggle to take big one-hit KOs on multi-prizers, but with enough practice, this could absolutely be a thing. Because I would feel bad leaving Iono off the list, she gets 4th spot, even though it's highly likely her entire line is forgotten about faster than V-Unions. Using Bellibolt EX's Electric Streamer ability, which is also what you become when you tinkle on a power line, you're able to accelerate all lightning energy in your hand to your Iono's Pokemon however you want. It's a super powerful ability, which is unfortunately held back by the fact that Iono's Pokemon are underwhelming. Sure, 230 on Bellibolt is fine, but it requires 4 energy. For 4 energy, Raging Bolt EX does 280 damage, and it's a basic. It seemed like Bellibolt and Raging Bolt would be great partners until Journey Together actually came out in Japan, and players soon discovered that the Ogerpon build of Raging Bolt is still superior. Still, that's where I'll show off the first version of Iono's Bellibolt. This is the highest performing Iono deck in Japan since January, and it only managed to finish in 2nd. I did make one minor change, going from 9 lightning and 2 fighting to 8 lightning and 3 fighting because, again, Japanese players don't have access to PTCGL. Ultimately, nothing here will cause your brain to implode. You'll never attack turn 1 going 2nd, so it's all about setting up your board. Getting Tadbulb and Watchroll down is the most important thing, except with just 60 hit points each, a stray basic gets eaten by a Dragapult, so you have to get them up and running fast. Assuming turn 1 was good, flood the field with energy using Bellibolt's ability, draw cards with Watchroll's ability, manually attach a fighting to Raging Bolt, energy switch a lightning to Raging Bolt, and start taking big KOs. It sounds a lot more complicated than it is. Unfortunately, Raging Bolt's special power is being a basic that can take big KOs on turn 1 going 2nd. That's different than my special power, which is giving amazing foot rubs. Remove that and Raging Bolt just kinda feels meh. Otherwise, you can play a straight Iono deck using Voltorb and Bellibolt as your main attackers. The only question you have to ask is, how much energy is too much energy? Rule Edge can include up to 20 thanks to all of the crazy discard effects. Unfortunately, Bellibolt needs that energy in play, not the bin. But you need as much as possible because Voltorb only does 20 base damage plus 20 more for each lightning energy attached to your Iono's Pokemon. Basically, in order to one-shot Dragapult EX, you need 15 energy in play. That's a big yikes. Still, with Bellibolt accelerating it all for free and Watchroll drawing up to 6 cards in hand after discarding a lightning energy, it's not far-fetched. It's Watchroll. Yeah, that was terrible, I'm sorry. Just like the Raging Bolt build, you're not doing anything turn 1, so Klefki can be a good way to potentially slow them down. Otherwise, hope to start a supporter and 2 Poffin, then get as many basics down as quickly as possible. There's too many things that can go wrong because so much of your deck is energy, but if you play this thing 100 times, you'll definitely live the dream at least twice. And that's something to get excited about. You can make a few changes to Bellibolt by including something like Badoo to try to buy a Timmy turn or two. Heroescape on Bellibolt with Magearna is a hilarious combo, essentially allowing you to fully heal Bellibolt on multiple turns. And a way to get evolutions early with Jacques or TM evolutions seems like a good idea. It's just a matter of finding the space while not sacrificing power. A deck I truly believe can do something in our next format on TCG Live that probably won't reflect IRL success because so many cards will be broken is Mamoswine EX. The ability lets you get any Pokemon you want from your deck every single turn. Then the attack does 180 base damage plus 40 more for each stage 2 Pokemon on your bench. Yes, that's a little awkward, like when you get Ents PP up at a pre-release, but there's a surprising number of ways to make it work. The first stage 2 you want in the deck is Pidgeot EX. Mamoswine gets the stage 2s, Pidgeot gets the rare candies. You're also going to need an energy accelerator, as Mamoswine requires 2 fighting energy to attack and Gutsy Pickaxe is gone. Not that Gutsy Pickaxe was ever really a playable card. As salty as I am that it isn't Blaziken EX, Garganacl is the best option. It accelerates a basic fighting energy from the discard pile to one of your Pokemon while also healing 30 damage from it. Ultimately, you're going to need 4 stage 2s on your bench to deal 340 damage and one-shot Dragapult and Charizard, which isn't easy. Luckily, help arrives in the form of Luxray and, to a lesser extent, Klinklang. With Lost Origin Gengar leaving due to rotation, you need an easy way to immediately flash a stage 2 onto your bench. Go behind on prizes and Luxray can do just that. I don't really like Klinklang because they have to have a stage 2 in play for its ability to activate. It's much easier to let your opponent beat you off for a turn than give them a swelling flash. Every high-performing Mamoswine list in Japan differed a little bit. Surprisingly, Grand Tree wasn't the ace spec everyone used. Some went with Precious Trolley alongside Arven and TM Evolution. We aren't doing that here. You just want your stage 2s in play as quickly as possible using Grand Tree, TM Evolution, and Rare Candy. There's a lot of minor changes to the list you can make, like adding a 4th Poffin and cutting an Iono, but that's something we'll have to learn through testing. I think Cornerstone Masked Ogerpon is also a good card to experiment with, as it can wall and deal with annoying cards like Mimikyu. Because Mamoswine only does 300 damage with 3 bench stage 2s in play, don't forget about Kieran and Defiance Band to allow you to one-shot big stage 2s. Or you could try something like Gravity Mountain to lower their HP, or go in the opposite direction and attach Rock Chestplate to Mamoswine. Because I want to show it off, here's Mamoswine with Blaziken EX going for the trolley strategy instead of Grand Tree. There's nothing too different about it. Blaziken accelerates any energy from the discard pile, meaning you do gain an alternate attacker who can deal 200 damage, hitting grass and metal types for weakness. The only difference now is that you go for 4 Arven, trolley as soon as possible, hope you have an energy in hand, then evolve into whichever stage 1s you can. Mamoswine's definitely the deck I'm most excited to try with Journey Together, though I am aware that it has its issues. And those were your top 5 best new Journey Together decks to try when the new set launches on March 27th in TCG Live. You'll find lists in the description unless I hit the character limit, in which case I'll put them in the comments. If I somehow forget to do that, feel free to join me live on Twitch to remind me, assuming you're not left in awe at my amazing Pokemon card gameplay skills first.